Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Now, I've said many a times this channel isn't a review channel, but sometimes the manufacturer reaches out and says, do you want to try something? And in this case, DxO Labs reached out to me and said, did I want to try some of their software? Now, basically, the software I'm going to try is their software called DxO PureRAW, and I think it's at version 6. And it basically gets your raw images into a better starting place. So I was keen to try it. It's something that possibly will fit into my workflow. Before we go any further, DxO kindly sent PureRAW 6.0 over for me to try. But as always, everything here is based on my own experience and how it fits into the way I work. This isn't really a technical deep dive or a traditional review. It's more about whether it makes a meaningful difference to the images I care about. I've been using Adobe Lightroom pretty much since it first came out, and for the most part, it's been a really solid tool for me. It's done everything I've needed it to do. That changed a bit about a year ago when I started looking at other software, mainly just to reduce my reliance on Adobe subscriptions. One of the first things I tried was Capture One, and I remember quite clearly I was out shooting woodland at Benford Falls, and when I looked at the raw files on the computer, they just looked better. Subtle, but better. Things like grass and foliage. The edges just felt a bit more defined, a bit more detailed. Nothing drastic, but enough to notice. Now, I know Capture One has a lot of fans, but for me, I just didn't really get on with it. I could see it was a good product, but I found the UI a bit clunky. It just didn't feel intuitive in the same way Lightroom does, especially after using Lightroom for over a decade. So, after a couple of months, I went back to Lightroom, but I couldn't really unsee what I'd seen. Even if we're talking pixel peeping levels, it's still there in your mind. You start to wonder if the files you're editing are actually the best starting point. So when DxO reached out and offered me PureRAW to try, it was mainly curiosity, because if it did what it said it would do, it kind of solves that problem, that slightly mushy starting point. And I say problem because if I'd never used Capture One, I probably wouldn't have even noticed it in the first place. So, DxO PureRAW, you can use it as a standalone app or as a Lightroom plugin. For me, I just use it as a plugin. It fits my workflow better. I'll import everything into Lightroom as normal, go through, do my usual cull, and then once I've picked the images I actually care about, I'll send those over to PureRAW. I usually just hit preview and process. In terms of sharpening, it's quite subtle, especially on the presets I use. I tend to stick with soft or standard. I don't really want to overcook it. Sharpness is one of those things that can go wrong quite quickly. Most of the time, the difference is fairly subtle, so I'll zoom in just to see what's actually changed. Look at the finer detail. Now, processing. These Fuji GFX files are big, about 200 megabytes each, and they take, roughly, 20 to 30 seconds per image on my Mac Mini M4 Pro with 64 gigabytes of RAM. So there's clearly quite a lot going on under the bonnet. But you can batch process, so it's not too painful. Once it's done, the new file just sits alongside the original, and the original RAW is left completely untouched. It also creates a new collection in Lightroom with the processed DNGs, which is quite handy. And when you compare the images in Lightroom, you do start to notice it. Things like fine detail, like the windows in the hotel, they just look a bit cleaner, a bit sharper than the original. You also get a slight lift in the shadows, although whether that really comes across on YouTube is another question. Again, looking at this image of Venford Falls, both of these versions have exactly the same Lightroom settings applied, but I do prefer the pure raw version. The colours feel a little more alive, and if we zoom in, you can see there's more detail being retained. So a lot of the images I've already looked at, I just used the sharpening feature in PureRAW, and I've been pretty happy with what I've seen. Now, PureRAW also has some impressive noise reduction features, but a lot of my shots are pretty clean of noise, just the way I shoot low ISO on a tripod and things like that. But on the DxO site, there is some example images, and one of them has a good example of noise all over it. So I thought, let's give it a go and see how it gets rid of the noise on this image.
For most of my images, the improvements from Pure Raw are fairly subtle, a bit more detail, a bit more clarity. But on a noisy image like this, it's a different story. Even with the default settings, the noise is cleaned up really nicely. You've got a couple of sliders if you want more control. The luminance slider handles the noise itself. I usually just leave that at the default, as it feels like a good balance. Then there's the recover details slider, which helps bring back some of the detail within that noise. Again, I've mostly left that alone. The defaults are doing a solid job. On this image, you don't even need to zoom in to see the difference here.
Well, as I said, I'm not really a review channel, but sometimes manufacturers reach out and ask me to try something, and it does pique my interest. This is definitely the case with something like Pure Raw. It was something I was kind of looking for. I didn't really research, but when it came to try it out, I was actually quite impressed. So I guess the big question is, would Pure Raw fit into my workflow? And the answer is yes, it would. I'm very happy with it. So I'm actually revisiting some of my older DNGs and just re-editing and just getting that little bit of extra sharpness into the images. Again, very subtle, but it's a definite improvement. So I'm really happy with that. So if you want to try Pure Raw yourself, there is a free demo on the DxO Labs website. And if you like what you see, use my discount code and you will bag yourself a bit of a discount. Anyway, thanks for watching. And until the next video, I'll see you later. Cheers.